This is the OnePlus 15, and I've been using it as my main device for the last week. I wanted to give my perspective on this device as an iPhone user. I'll be going over my thoughts of the device, battery, performance, camera, and video, and if you're truly sick of using your iPhone, this actually might be the perfect device to switch to. Hey everyone, it's Andrew, and welcome back to the channel. This is my third Android device that I've tested this year. First, it was the S25 Ultra, then it was the Pixel 10 Pro XL, and now it's the OnePlus 15. I'm coming from a year or so of using the iPhone 16 Pro Max, and I just upgraded to the iPhone 17 Pro Max about a month and a half ago. As someone who's deep in the Apple ecosystem, I wanted to see if this phone was really enough to get me to switch. And honestly, it's the first device that's made me think twice. And you'll understand why as I get into the video. So let's get right into it with the design. The design is simple and clean. I really like the way the camera setup is in the back. It doesn't really look like the iPhone at all, especially now that the iPhone has changed. This form factor is completely different from the previous OnePlus. I never used OnePlus before. This is all new to me, but it does look pretty different. And I think it's a better upgrade from the last model. Aesthetically, I think I slightly favor the iPhone or maybe the Pixel, but it's definitely better looking than the S25 Ultra. It's got ultra slim bezels at 1.15 millimeters, so you get a lot of real estate for your display, and it feels pretty comfortable to hold. It's a little squared off and a little bit sharp, but not too much. The new iPhones are more rounded. This feels kind of like how the 14 Pro felt, just a little bit sharp in hand. It feels really minimalistic. There's not a lot going on. Overall, I think the design is pretty gorgeous. It's a pretty simple looking phone. The sandstorm color is beautiful, and the material of the frame is interesting. I don't think it's very premium for one, and in hand it does feel a little bit cheap, but that might not be a bad thing. I don't know how to quite put it, but it just feels safe. And because I have the sandstorm colorway, I have an additional feature that's not on the two other colors. There's a new technology called micro arc oxidation, and the way I describe it sounds kind of weird, but it feels flexible, like it's made for impact. And comparing it with aluminum and titanium, it's actually really interesting as well. It's apparently 3.4 times harder than aluminum, and we know all about the durability concerns with the iPhone 17 Pro and Pro Max, and it's allegedly even tougher than titanium. And honestly, I've gone caseless and I've never really felt so confident with a phone. So you're sacrificing a premium feeling for more protection. You kind of have to work that out and weigh those two, which you prefer. The back is a fiberglass panel. Overall, it's a very light device. It only weighs 211 grams. For the size, it's pretty impressive. Now, the size of the 17 Pro Max is slightly bigger. It's a 6.9-inch size phone, and it weighs 233 grams. There is a little bit more bulk to the iPhone 17 Pro Max, but in hand, they look about the same, and the OnePlus does feel lighter, because it is. It comes in two other colors. It does come with a screen protector pre-applied, but I took that off pretty much instantly when I realized the screen protector was on. It took me actually a day to figure it out. It was fine until a couple days ago I realized I had scratched it really bad. So it has a Corning Gorilla Glass Victus 2 on there. I just thought it'd be a little bit more scratch resistant, but it didn't really hold the scratch, and it's one of the worst scratches I've ever had on a screen for a smartphone. There's a SIM tray at the bottom, but I'm using eSIM, so it doesn't really matter. They have an action button on the left side that you can configure. It actually opens up the camera by default. I didn't really play around with it because I don't use the action button on the iPhone. All right, that kind of wraps it up for my thoughts on the design. So for now, we'll move on to the display. And the display is actually really impressive, and it's one of my favorite parts about this device. It's very fluid, it's really nice to use, and it's really easy on the eyes. I noticed now, kind of thinking about my experience with it, I didn't have any eye fatigue or eye strain throughout my experience using it. So the display is a 6.78-inch 1.5K LTPO panel. It has a 120 Hz refresh rate with a maximum of 165 Hz refresh rate. It's actually the first phone to combine this technology, and truthfully, it's a smooth display. But to be honest, I didn't really notice much of a difference between the ProMotion display on the iPhone 17 Pro Max and this display, and I'm not really into gaming, so I didn't really notice that either. I don't game enough to care about refresh rates in that sense. It didn't really make much of a difference for me, but that's just me. I think if you're a power user or someone that is a gamer, you're going to love that. But really, watching a movie or a TV show or being on social media and just scrolling on the device is really a joy to use, and it's a fantastic display. Peak brightness is a little low in my opinion. It's 1800 peak brightness outdoors, which is not really impressive if I'm being honest, comparing it to the iPhone 17 Pro Max or the S25 Ultra, which has the anti-reflective display. It's not really something that I was impressed by. It just feels a little bit dated and should have higher peak brightness. The under-screen fingerprint reader is excellent. Face ID is also really quick as well. Now, a large part of this video that I'm going to talk about is OxygenOS 16 because I've never used it and I have a few thoughts about it. First off, I really like it. And it's a really interesting OS to use. It's kind of weird because it feels like an iOS skin. It doesn't feel like Android fully, in my opinion, although there's some parts where it does and kind of breaks down and you're like, oh, okay, definitely Android, but it feels like iOS. I didn't really know what to expect, and it kind of surprised me. The home and lock screens look like an iOS skin. The camera app and calculator app also look very similar to iOS, and you can even customize your icons to look like iOS as well. I really love the wallpaper, home and lock screen customization, especially the customization for the lock screen. Just whenever you activate your display and are trying to go into your device, that motion wallpaper is so nice with the mountain theme. It's really cool. It's also very smooth and a joy to use. I didn't really have any issues with using the OS. Animations are on point, opening apps is really quick, and it even has a dynamic island in some instances, which is kind of funny and a complete copy of what Apple did with Dynamic Island. Definitely out of all the Android phones that I've ever used, it's the most iOS feeling Android phone out there. Even the control center looks and feels very similar. I don't like whenever I'm on the home screen and I swipe to the left and it opens up the ugly Google menu. I don't know if you can turn this feature off, but it is super annoying and I don't like it one bit. I think it's terrible. I also don't like how at the top you have all these different icons. So it shows like Wi-Fi and cellular and Bluetooth and all these things. Like that looks terrible as well. And overall, I'm not really a fan of the notifications. So if you swipe down, you get all the notifications kind of on this screen. I know a lot of people complain about iOS notifications, but I've never really had a problem with them. I don't think this is really that much better. And I know AI is a big topic. I gotta be honest, I really don't care about AI that much. I guess when it comes to my smartphone, I've really landed on just using ChatGPT and I'm fine with everything that that app does for me. Having tried OxygenOS for the first time and it not being that much time that I spent with the device. Also, I will say haptics on this device are really nice. I really like that part of it, and the typing experience is just way better than iOS. Using OxygenOS and all of that, it takes up battery. So let's talk about the battery. And the battery is my favorite part about this device. It is literally incredible. By far, this is the best battery life that I've ever had on a phone. I could literally just leave it out from Friday night all the way till Sunday night, and it was being at like 45%. Now that's with low use, but even with heavy use, it's only getting to like 50% throughout the day. Leaving it overnight and waking up and using it all the way until the next day is insane. So it's a 7,300 milliamp hour battery. So it's not way bigger than the iPhone 17 Pro Max, but I feel like it just lasts so much longer. If battery life is the most important thing to you, this definitely, without a doubt, is the phone to get. Take away the fact how much I love iPhone, this is by far the best battery. I tried my best to kill it, and it felt like an impossible task. Another really cool thing is the charging. So it supports 100-watt fast charging. It's really impressive how quick it can charge. Long term, I am really curious how the battery health will be affected. Maybe it could last 100% throughout the year. We'll have to see. On to performance. The chip inside is the Snapdragon 8 Elite Gen 5 that's powered by OnePlus, so they have their own unique spin on it. The model I have has 16 gigs of RAM. I'm not really a benchmarks and specs kind of of guy. And so I just want to talk about my use case and how it's performed for me. And day to day, it's been really good. Most of the tasks that I do outside of a few things is taking notes, looking at email, social media, things like YouTube, watching movies, stuff like that. And I like to edit my short videos on mobile using CapCut and exporting that footage and all of that, no issues throughout this whole time of testing out the phone. I think the only time that I had overheating or just felt hot was when I was charging it for the first time with the fast charging setting. And I do feel like a lot of third-party apps just aren't great on Android. Not that they're bad, I just feel like iOS feels better. And so my experience with Twitter still hasn't been great. I think every single Android that I've tested this year, Twitter is just awful. I literally don't use it as much whenever I'm testing an Android phone. I did game a little bit, to be honest, not that much. I'm just not into it. Real Racing 3, that was a fun game, and that supports the 165 hertz refresh rate. And so if you want to try it out, I would try that game or any of the games listed here. I'll list them. There's specific games that are really good for the 165 hertz. So if you're into gaming, you're probably going to like that. But I want to say while gaming, watching movies and testing out the device, no heating at all, performed really smoothly and was great. But I will say performance wise, I did not notice it being that much better or even better than the iPhone 17 Pro Max outside of the variables of heating. But it's not really overheating. It's just like any device. Most of them, they just get a little hot in certain scenarios. But with the active cooling on the 17 Pro Max, I'm not too worried about that. So I would say these are pretty even. And I don't know what it is, but loading 4K footage into CapCut was a little slow, and processing on ChatGPT was slow, and just scrolling on Twitter slow. So I just feel like a lot of third-party apps aren't optimized for such a powerful device. It's kind of weird. All right, so that was performance, and now we're gonna move on to camera and video, two of my favorite things to test, and the camera is really good. So it's a triple camera. Each camera lens is 50 megapixels, and they're all pretty impressive. I really enjoyed testing out the phone. An afternoon that I could go down to Tampa, and here are some of the best shots that I've been able to get. I really enjoyed using the 3.5x optical zoom, and they have 7x, but it isn't quite optical zoom, it's quality lossless zoom. Typically, when I use my iPhone, I like to shoot in RAW. I would say for the camera, the colors are very vibrant. I really like the processing. I don't think it looks natural. I do think it looks processed, but I do like the color profile. And editing on it, here's some ones that I've done edited. And they look pretty good as well. It's always a little bit tricky to find the exact match. For the most part, it got the job done with its editing within the camera app, but I also like when I'm filming to film in 4K, 30 FPS in cinematic mode, and I typically use the front-facing camera like I am right now. I think the front-facing camera on the 17 Pro Max is pretty good, and I also like to shoot in 4K at 60 FPS. So those are my two workflows. So in a technical sense, the OnePlus can do the same thing, but I don't really love the video on this device. For one, the front-facing camera is a 32 megapixel camera, and the new 17 Pro Max has an 18 megapixel front-facing camera. Maybe I need to adjust some settings, but here's an example of me just recording with the front-facing camera. Here's a test of the front-facing camera. I don't have any microphone or anything like that. I did put a depth of field of about 2.2, so it looks foggy, you know, it looks a little bit grainy. Even when I try to touch it up, it just, something's not right. Let me see if I clean it, if it does anything. And it just doesn't look great. And if you need an iPhone example, this literally right here, what I'm using right now, is the front-facing camera on the 17 Pro. Here's some video shots that I've taken. Look at that dinosaur, whoa. Yeah, it's a big wall to protect us. From the dinosaur. Look at the dinosaur, it's coming for me. As a creator though, I use my iPhone a lot for video recording, and I just don't want to use this phone for video. My workflow is so set in its way, and I really like Apple's natural color. I don't use any LUTs or any color grading or anything like that. I just kind of adjust it after the video, and B-roll, I don't really do anything to it. So I'm pretty satisfied with the iPhone's camera. And I think the iPhone Pro, at least, is made more for creators than a power user or a gamer. Whereas this, the OnePlus 15, is definitely made for someone that's a power user and a gamer. I don't think it's terrible for video. I just probably wouldn't use it. Here's a quick speaker test just to see the speakers. Call quality is pretty good. I didn't have any dropped calls. 5G connectivity was really good. Wi-Fi connectivity's also been excellent, no issues there. And connecting through Bluetooth has been great as well. I actually paired my AirPods 4 with this device, just testing it out and how quickly it connects, stuff like that. It's pretty quick. I did miss MagSafe quite a bit. And overall, I did miss some iOS apps that I do find essential to my daily use, like Mail. Gmail is terrible. I don't know how anyone uses it, but Apple Mail, I really like. Calendar, reminders, just those productivity apps are really helpful. And I do like that Apple Music and Apple TV on here. I think it would be awesome if Apple made Apple Podcasts for Android. I know this is probably never gonna happen because I do feel like a lot of people would switch or think about switching would be an iCloud app for Android. Because then I could access everything I need and have it all on whatever phone I want. The starting price for the OnePlus 15 is $899 for the 256GB model. It comes with 12 gigs of RAM, but if you upgrade your storage, you also upgrade your RAM. So you get 512 gigabytes with 16 gigs of RAM, and the price for that is $999. So just $100 more, and I would probably just go with that. That seems pretty worth it for $100. And over the last few years, a lot of people have felt really bored of iPhone. If you really want to keep the familiarity of iOS, I think switching to this phone would be a great option. So like if you were saying to me, Andrew, I want to switch from iPhone, I don't want to use iPhone anymore, which phone would I get? It would be this one. This would be the phone that I recommend. Great battery, camera's pretty good, video's okay, it's not that great, but you have an awesome display, and if you're into gaming, power user, there's a ton of AI stuff, and the price is actually pretty decent. That's just my perspective as an iPhone user. For now, I'm gonna be keeping my SIM card in this, and I would say, if you want to switch, go ahead and switch. It's not a big deal. Try it out. Try something new. Again, the video is not really a comparison. It's just my perspective. The full comparison will be coming within the next few weeks. As always, guys, thanks for watching. God bless, and I will see you on the next video.